Snow pounds the mountainside like 1,000 drumming fists. Elena pulls her wool cloak tighter, breath turning to mist as she trudges through knee-deep drifts. She checks her snares before the storm traps her inside for days. But halfway to the last trap, she freezes. A faint, pitiful whimper rises above the wind, so fragile it sounds like a ghost. Elena scans the trees, heart pounding. Another cry pierces the air, weaker this time. She moves fast, branches snapping under her boots, eyes sharp. Finally, she spots a small, shaking shape, half buried beneath a pine branch. A wolf pup, ribs jutting like broken sticks, fur matted with ice and blood. Its head lifts weakly, eyes glazed with pain and fear. Elena drops to her knees, ignoring the snow soaking through her clothes. "Oh, you poor thing," she whispers, her voice trembling. Carefully, she scoops the pup into her arms. Its body is so cold it feels like holding a stone. She wraps it inside her cloak, pressing it against her chest to share her warmth. The pup lets out a tiny, rattling sigh. Elena stands, legs shaking under the added weight, and turns for home. The storm rages harder now, snow biting her face like tiny knives. Each step feels endless, her breath ragged as she fights to stay upright. She stumbles twice, shielding the pup with her body each time. Finally, her cabin appears through the white haze, a small structure clinging to the mountainside like a stubborn flower. Elena crashes through the door, kicking it shut behind her. The dim interior glows with the weak light of a smoldering fire. She lays the pup on a wool blanket near the hearth, hands flying to stoke the flames higher. She strips off her wet cloak and kneels beside him. "Come on, stay with me," she pleads, her fingers working fast to rub warmth into the pup's frail body. She heats goat's milk on the stove, dripping tiny amounts into his mouth. At first, nothing. Then, a weak swallow. Elena gasps, tears springing to her eyes. "Good boy. That's it," she coaxes, voice cracking. She repeats the process, feeding and rubbing, never letting the pup slip too far into the darkness. Hours pass, and exhaustion burns through her muscles. Still, she refuses to sleep, eyes fixed on the rising and falling of the pup's tiny chest. At dawn, the storm finally quiets. Pale light spills into the room, revealing the pup's fur now damp but cleaner, his sides moving with each shallow breath. His eyes flutter open for the first time, locking weakly onto Elena's face. She lets out a shaky laugh, brushing a tear from her cheek. "You're going to make it. I can feel it." She rests her forehead gently against his, whispering, "Oris. That's your name now. You're strong. You'll grow big and brave." In that quiet cabin, with the storm's echoes fading beyond the walls, two souls find each other. One woman's kindness collides with one pup's fragile will to live, and a bond powerful enough to change both their worlds is born. Spring light melts the last crusts of snow around Elena's cabin. Inside, Oris stands on trembling legs, nose twitching at every new scent. His ribs no longer show, his fur shines like silver in the morning sun. Elena watches from her chair, smiling softly, mug of steaming tea cupped in her hands. At first, Oris startles at every creak in the floorboards, flinches when the wind rattles the windows. But Elena is patient. She moves slowly, her voice always soft. She offers bits of dried meat from her hand, waiting as long as it takes for him to trust. One day, he finally steps forward, takes the food, and presses his nose into her palm. Elena's eyes fill with tears, the first touch of true trust. They fall into a gentle rhythm, morning spent in the garden, Oris bouncing clumsily through rows of wildflowers, nose buried in the dirt. Afternoons filled with long walks along narrow mountain paths, Elena's laugh echoing as Oris chases birds across the meadows. At night, he curls at the foot of her bed, eyes always half open, as though guarding her even in sleep. Word spreads to the village below. Some call Elena mad. A wolf will turn on you the moment it's hungry enough, they say. Others whisper about curses and old forest spirits. But Elena doesn't listen. She sees beyond Oris's sharp teeth and wild blood. She sees a soul that mirrors her own loneliness and quiet longing for connection. Elena reads aloud to Oris by lantern light. Her voice wraps around the small room like a blanket. He tilts his head, ears flicking at every new sound. Sometimes he nudges the book with his nose, as though asking her to continue. Seasons pass. Oris grows into a powerful wolf, his shoulders broad, legs strong enough to carry him like a gray streak through the trees. Yet he never strays far from Elena. Even when he darts into the woods, he always circles back, his golden eyes scanning the cabin door until he finds her. Elena crafts a small leather collar for him, decorating it with tiny beads. When she slips it around his neck, Oris stands perfectly still, watching her with deep, knowing eyes. She rests her forehead against his and whispers, "You're not mine to keep, but I'm yours as long as you'll have me." One summer night, lightning cracks across the sky, thunder booms, shaking the tiny cabin. Oris paces, hackles raised, growling at every rumble. Elena kneels beside him, her hands on his shoulders. "It's just a storm," she murmurs, pressing her face into his fur. Slowly he calms, his breath sinking with hers until they both sit quietly in the candlelight. In every shared sunrise, every soft touch, every watchful gaze, their bond forges stronger than any chain. A woman who gave a starving pup a chance to live, and a wolf who gave her life a reason to beat fiercely again. Together, they become a single heartbeat, echoing across the wild mountain air. Autumn arrives like a quiet thief, turning the green slopes around Elena's cabin into a blaze of orange and crimson. The nights grow colder, each wind whispering secrets through the valley. Down in the village, rumors swirl. A dangerous man has been spotted in the region. A drifter, they say, known for breaking into remote homes, leaving destruction in his wake. Elena hears the warnings but shakes her head. She trusts her mountains, her instincts, and most of all, Oris. At night she locks the doors, but Oris stays restless, his ears flicking at every crack and sigh of the forest. Sometimes he stands at the window for hours, golden eyes reflecting the moonlight, his body stiff as a drawn bow. One evening, heavy clouds roll in over the peaks. Thunder grumbles low, echoing like distant drums. Oris paces by the door, tail rigid, nose twitching. Elena watches him, heart beating fast, a cold unease creeping up her spine. She moves to soothe him, but before she can speak, a sharp crunch of snow outside snaps them both into silence. Elena's breath catches. Oris lowers his head, lips curling back to reveal white, lethal teeth. The doorknob rattles. A dark silhouette moves across the frosted window. Elena steps back, her hands trembling. "Oris," she whispers, but he's already in front of her, his massive body a living shield. The door bursts open. A man stumbles in, face hidden behind a filthy scarf, eyes wild and hungry. A knife glints in his fist. Snow whirls in behind him like a swarm of white ghosts. "Stay back!" Elena cries, her voice cracking. The man snarls, lunging toward her, blade raised. In that instant, Oris explodes forward with a force that rattles the walls. His growl rips through the room, a sound older than fire, deeper than fear itself. The man swings the knife wildly, slicing across Oris's shoulder. Blood splashes onto the wooden floor. But Oris doesn't falter. He barrels into the intruder, jaws snapping, claws tearing at the man's coat. The man screams, stumbling backward, slamming into the table, and scattering dishes like shattering stars. Elena watches in frozen horror as the struggle shakes the cabin. Oris lunges again, pushing the man toward the open door. Another slash of the knife slices his flank, but Oris ignores the pain, his eyes locked only on Elena behind him. Finally, with a final shove, the man crashes out into the snow, scrambling to his feet. He sprints into the storm, leaving a red trail that quickly vanishes under falling flakes. Oris stands in the doorway, chest heaving, blood dripping onto the threshold. He turns slowly, his golden eyes finding Elena's. For a heartbeat, the world stands still. Then Elena runs forward, falling to her knees, wrapping her arms around his thick neck. She presses her face into his fur, sobbing, "You saved me. You chose me." Oris leans into her, trembling, but still standing guard, even as pain seeps through his wounds. In that moment, Elena realizes the truth. The pup she once saved has now saved her, and in doing so has revealed the wild, fearless love that binds them beyond all reason. Snow falls thick and silent, blanketing the ground in an eerie hush. Inside the cabin, Elena works frantically, her hands shaking as she presses torn cloth to Oris's wounds. Blood soaks through the fabric, warm against her cold fingers. Oris sits still, his breathing shallow but steady, golden eyes never leaving her face. "Stay with me, please," Elena whispers, her voice breaking, as tears slide down her cheeks. She ties another strip of cloth around his shoulder, cursing herself for every second she hesitated. Oris flinches slightly, but never growls or pulls away. Even now, hurt and bleeding, he trusts her hands completely. The cabin smells of smoke and iron. A broken table lies scattered in the corner, chairs overturned, dishes shattered across the floor. The open door bangs softly in the wind, carrying in the faint, fading scent of the intruder's blood trail. Oris's ears twitch toward it, but his gaze stays locked on Elena, as if reminding her he would choose her safety again, without question. Elena finally ties the last bandage and collapses beside him, her forehead resting against his thick fur. She feels the slow rise and fall of his chest, the heat of his body grounding her shaking soul. Outside, the storm rages on, but inside, there is only the heartbeat of a woman and her wolf echoing in the dim, broken room. Hours pass in tense silence. Elena gathers water and gently cleans the cuts around Oris's face and flanks. He watches her with a deep, quiet softness, occasionally nudging her wrist with his cold nose as if to say, "I'm still here." At dawn, the village hunters arrive, drawn by the noise and the sight of the blood-soaked snow. They enter cautiously, weapons ready, eyes wide at the scene inside. One man drops his rifle, stepping back in awe. "Elena, are you hurt?" the elder asks, voice tight with fear. She shakes her head, her fingers still buried in Oris's fur. "I'm fine," she says, her voice hoarse, "because of him." Their eyes fall on Oris, the beast they once warned her about, the wild threat they believed would one day turn on her. Instead, they see a protector, standing proudly despite his injuries, his golden eyes burning with unyielding loyalty. Slowly, one by one, the hunters lower their weapons. A young boy peeks in from behind the group, his eyes wide with wonder. "The wolf saved her," he whispers, loud enough for all to hear. Elena nods, tears slipping down her face. "He didn't just save me," she says, turning to look at Oris. "He chose me. He gave up his wildness for me." Oris leans against her, his heavy head resting in her lap as he finally closes his eyes. The villagers step forward, some helping to clean, others gathering the scattered debris. For the first time, they do not look at Oris with fear. They look at him with respect, even reverence. Outside, the first rays of sunlight break through the clouds, turning the snow into a field of glittering diamonds. Inside, woman and wolf sit together, bound not by a leash or command, but by a love so fierce it defied every instinct written in their blood. The winter sun rises slow and soft, melting frost along the cabin roof. Inside, Elena stirs beside Oris, her head still resting against his broad shoulders. He shifts slightly, opening his golden eyes to meet hers. She smiles through puffy eyes, brushing her fingers gently along his muzzle. Days pass, and the cabin transforms from a place of fear into a symbol of resilience. Villagers visit daily, bringing warm food, herbs, and fresh bandages for Oris. Children tiptoe inside, wide-eyed, leaving small treats by his paws before scampering back to their parents. The stories spread beyond the mountain, of the wild wolf who chose love over instinct, who defended the woman who once saved his life. Elena tends to Oris's wounds with steady devotion. He heals slowly, scars forming across his strong shoulders like medals of bravery. When he stands again for the first time, Elena sobs, wrapping her arms around his thick neck. Oris nuzzles her cheek, breathing out a low, rumbling sigh that vibrates deep into her bones. Spring arrives, bringing life back to the mountains. Blossoms bloom along the trail leading to Elena's cabin, and birds return to sing at dawn. Oris follows Elena wherever she goes, moving slowly at first, his head always turned to check on her. One afternoon, as she plants seedlings in her small garden, Oris lies nearby in the grass, eyes half closed but ears twitching at every sound. A young girl from the village sits close by, sketching them both with trembling hands. "He's not just a wolf anymore," she says softly. "He's her guardian spirit." Elena glances up, smiling through tears. "Yes," she replies, her voice gentle but certain. "He always has been." The villagers no longer fear Oris. Instead, they greet him with respect, bowing their heads slightly when they pass. Some leave offerings of meat at the edge of the woods, gifts of gratitude to the protector among them. The legend of Oris grows far beyond their small community. Travelers climb the mountain just to hear the story whispered by the fire. As years pass, the bond between Elena and Oris only deepens. She grows older, her hair turning silver like moonlight, but her spirit stays fierce beside her loyal wolf. Oris, too, moves more slowly now, but his eyes remain bright, full of the same wild love that saved her life long ago. On warm evenings, they sit together on the porch, watching stars rise above the silent forest. Elena rests her hand on Oris's back, and he leans into her touch, their breathing sinking as one heartbeat under the night sky. Visitors say the cabin glows at night, as if lit from within by something more than firelight, a quiet magic born from trust and sacrifice. And in that small wooden home, surrounded by endless trees and open sky, a woman and her wolf teach the world a truth often forgotten, that love can turn even the wildest soul into family. Elena and Oris's story proves that love has the power to tame the wildest heart and transform fear into fierce loyalty. In a world quick to judge what it doesn't understand, this wolf chose love over instinct, and in doing so, showed us the purest form of devotion. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who believes true loyalty doesn't exist anymore. Drop a comment below. Do you think animals can truly love us like we love them? Have you ever felt a bond that strong? Thank you for watching. And remember, the bonds we create can become legends that live forever.